The doctor's answer during this deposition blew me out of the water. It was one of the most remarkable answers I ever heard in a deposition. You want to know what this is all about? Come join me for a walk going towards the beach as I share with you the answer to that question. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. This was an obstetrical malpractice case. It involved a delay in delivering a baby. And now I had an opportunity during the course of this lawsuit to question the obstetrician whom my client had sued. The case involved claims against the obstetrician for delaying and failing to timely do a proper delivery, as well as hospital staff. Now, during the course of this pretrial question and answer session that we call a deposition, which, by the way, lawyers also call an examination before trial, it's a pretrial question and answer session that allows me the opportunity to learn more details from the people who were sued about exactly what happened and why. The answers that the doctor gives during this pretrial deposition carry the same exact weight as if he's testifying in court, in front of a judge, in front of a jury at trial. So now, I'm in the process of questioning the doctor. His attorney is present, and there are a number of other attorneys present, as well as a court stenographer to record all of the questions that I am asking and all of the doctor's answers. Now, I'm focusing for the moment on a series of questions concerning conversations that the doctor had with my client. My client had told me previously that at some point after the delivery, the doctor came into a room and actually apologized for the injuries that the baby suffered. The baby suffered very significant brain injury because there was a lack of oxygen that occurred because of the delay in delivering this child. So now I was asking questions about what he remembered concerning the conversations. And you know what? Remarkably, the doctor, to his credit, did remember many of those conversations. And he did say, and he did acknowledge, that he had a conversation with my client where he actually apologized to her, not so much for what he did, but for the fact that the baby suffered a terrible outcome. That he now knows that the baby suffered significant brain injury because of a lack of oxygen deprivation. And I was focused on those conversations, such as how he came to learn that information and what conclusions did he reach about why, importantly, why this baby suffered brain injury. At some point, the doctor turned to me during answering my questions and said, "Don't blame me, I did nothing wrong. Instead, it was the nurses who failed to tell me that your client was having a problem during labor." Now, I will tell you something very important. In over 34 years of practice handling medical malpractice and accident cases, I have never, ever seen a physician turn around and point the finger at another healthcare provider in a lawsuit. Never. They often are very unified, at least during pretrial testimony, and will never point fingers at their colleagues. However, this doctor did something totally out of the blue. This doctor's answer blew me away. It blew me away to the point that I'd never, ever heard a doctor basically throw the other healthcare providers under the bus. He said, "Don't blame me, it was the nurses who failed to tell me about it." And importantly, he said this, "If the nurses had timely notified me, I could have done something because I was attending to a very sick patient who took priority. I was in the process of getting ready to deliver a very, very sick patient, and now she needed my full attention. If the nurses had come in to tell me that your client was having a problem, the electronic fetal monitoring showed that the baby's heart rate was dropping. If the nurses had come in to tell me about that, I could have had one of the other physicians take over for what I was doing at that moment, and then I could have quickly come to attend to your client and done an emergency C-section. That's what would have occurred." And this was fascinating. And he said, had that taken place, then this baby would not have suffered the brain injury and the lack of oxygen leading to this permanent brain damage. That was remarkable. That I have never, ever seen a doctor do. And why was that so remarkable? It's because the doctors don't want to point fingers at their colleagues. They don't want to show that somebody else may have done something wrong or departed from the standard of care. But this doctor had no problem whatsoever standing up for what he believed was right, and that we were pointing a finger at him as well as the nurses, and he came right out and said, "Don't blame me. I wasn't there. I told the nurses specifically that if there was a problem with this patient and anything on the monitor, to notify me immediately." Now, this is very interesting. So now, after I'm done questioning the doctor after a number of hours, the attorney who represents the hospital begins to ask the doctor questions. And one of the questions that really piqued everybody's interest was, "Doctor, you were in another C-section room. You were attending to another patient, right?" "Yes." "And there was monitoring equipment in that room that allowed you the ability to look up for a moment and to see a whole bank of monitors for all the patients in labor, and you could have easily looked at this particular patient's monitor to see how her baby was doing. Couldn't you have done that?" "Yes, I could." "Why didn't you do that, doctor?" "Because I was attending to this patient who needed 100% of my attention." So the attorney for the hospital was trying to show that although the doctor was busy and devoting his entire attention to this other patient, that he had the opportunity, or at least the ability, to look at the electronic fetal monitoring equipment and to make a decision about whether or not everything was okay. And he chose not to do that. Now, is that a good argument? I don't think it was a good argument, because he could not explain away the fact that the nurse, the labor nurse who was attending to my client, failed to do her job. She failed to, number one, recognize that there was a problem with the baby's heart rate. She failed to recognize not only that the baby's heart rate was dropping, but even if she did recognize it, she failed to alert the obstetrician who was caring for the patient, my client, about anything going on. And the reality was that we believe that this nurse was totally negligent, totally careless, departed from the standard of care, and neglected this patient, didn't even make any notes about what was going on with the baby's heart rate for over an hour, which tells us that in all likelihood, she never was attending to this patient during that period of time. So why do I share this quick information with you? I share it with you just to open your eyes and to help you understand what really happens in these medical malpractice cases, and to share with you exactly what happened in this obstetrical malpractice case, where this doctor turned around and did something I have never, ever seen. You know, I realize you likely have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen in New York, and you are thinking about bringing a lawsuit but have not done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know, I answer questions like yours every single day, and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207, or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.